Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. The Everything in Bloom on the 8th video is going to be a bit thin today, and it's also desperately trying to hang on to things that have gone over, really. There's plenty to come down the line, but not now. It's just, so that's the way it is. We'll start over this side for once. My Phalaenopsis Sweet Memory spike is still doing well, still looking good. It's a lovely tight cluster this time. Very pleased with that spike. Slightly fragrant, but you'd never be able to tell at the moment for reasons. One cherry baby spike's now gone, and the other one's not long for going. Once you see the red starting to turn a little brownish or purplish, they're on their way out. So that's not going to be here much longer. And on that particular plant, that was a bit of a rescue piece. I'll be looking for new growths. My Psychopsis, that's still looking good. Always a bit of a spectacle, the blooms on the Psychopsis. It's not just the colours, it's the shape. It's just so unusual. I don't think there are any other orchids that even come close to having that sort of shape to them. Nicknamed the butterfly orchid. I've always imagined, when the old plant hunters were out in the jungle, given that these spikes are really long and very thin, so almost invisible. You can imagine just hacking your way through the jungle and suddenly coming across a group of these blooms gently moving about in the breeze with no apparent attachment to a plant. So you can see how they got the nickname butterfly orchid. Very, very beautiful blooms. Nothing going on down in this lot, absolutely nothing at all. There's one Restrepia just had quite a few blooms on it that are now fading, and then there's no more showing at the moment. Quite honestly, most of the stuff in here, the Paphiopedilums tend to bloom winter into early spring, so they're in growth mode, and the rest of the stuff in here, the cooler growers, they just don't like the heat, so they're just stationary at the moment. Some are growing some new stuff, but they go on hold a bit when it's warm in the summer and then start coming back again later in the year. My Disa is going. One last bloom left, the other two have gone. And at the moment I don't see any more spikes on the Disas, but that pot over there has got two quite large plants in it. They may well bloom later in the year. This pot full, probably not, but if this one bloomed, why won't that one? So we may get some more Disa blooms soon or later, whatever. My Friedrichianum Hannah, remembering the new name, has gone now. I think I've got there's just a couple of blooms still in a reasonable state to class it as still with us, but that's really the last one, and then they'll be gone till next year. But that's done well for me this year. I certainly can't complain. Loads of new growths coming up at the top. It's still pushing new growths out. All these canes here, this sea of green, that's next year's blooming canes. Those up there growing now are the year after. It's got that 2-year cycle on it. Coming over here, we had a good look at this one yesterday, so I won't worry too much about it. This is my new acquisition, Brassia Santa Barbara. Massive blooms on this. As I say, they're 10 inches plus from tip to toe. Very, very big. The little bulbophyllum over there, the Sycamensi, I think that's its last spike now, and it's sort of interesting, but I don't think it justifies its existence for me. So when we get round to the next lot of plants to go, that will probably be one of them. Just on the grounds that, given the bulbophyllums I've got, that's the one I least like. And that took years to get to bloom. Well, I finally got it to bloom, so I'm pleased with that. But yeah, small and delicate, I suppose you could say. And coming over here, he's barging his stuff with his elbow. We've got this one that's just opened. This is Cattleya Little Lemon Drops crossed with Catlatonia Why Not. Very attractive blooms, very attractive. I think anything that comes out now this time of year is going to have some of its life taken away because of the heat. Blooms tend to last longer when it's cooler, and I can't remember last time this bloomed how long those blooms last. But yeah, very, very attractive little compact Cattleya. That's that one. And then coming down here, tangled up with the, I'll do this one now. This is the Verrucosa, Brassia verrucosa Sea Breeze, again, new acquisition. This one's got blooms taking up half the flipping place. Spots change colour as the blooms go, yeah, so they change from a browny colour to purple. And once you see the purple, that bloom's about to go. You can see more about to go over here. But I bought that more for the plant and the fact that it's got 5 strong new growths on it, which in theory could bloom all at once next year. So that was the reason for getting the plant, apart from the fact that, I really love these blooms. Tucked in behind there is Dendrobium hibiki, which is opening now. There's none of the clusters are fully open, but this will be the first one here to be fully open. The blooms will curl back a little bit more than that as they age, and stacks more to come on here. Counting the clusters, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and over here 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, a dozen or so clusters of those lovely purple blooms to come, and they do last quite a long time. And hopefully they'll hang in there even with the heat that we've got at the moment. Still no sign of rain. Perhaps an odd little bit of drizzle. That's no good for the garden. That does more harm than good. Need rain. It's been a very long time. Even all those thunderstorms that passed over a while back that showed coming across from France over the channel and straight up through my area. Nothing here. Nothing. A town called Poole, literally only about 6-7 miles away, was actually flooded. They had so much rain. And what did we get? Not a drop. My little Cattleya cernua, got a couple of little delicate blooms on it. These are tiny, and when it blooms like this, with an odd spike now and again, it never actually looks that impressive. This looked its best with the mass blooming I had back in December last year. And that's the first time it's ever done that, where all the new growths bloomed at the same time. But a trickle of attractive little blooms like that is, if that's how it's going to be, so be it. And over here we've got the, this is another Cattleya Little Lemon Drops parentage. And this is crossed with a Catlatonia. No, it's not. It's crossed with an epi. Oh God, I don't know. And there's no. Yeah, there is a tag on it. Blimey. Encyclia vetulina. That's it. Come on, brain. Early in the day, more coffee. Very attractive blooms. Opens yellow, and then after a week or so fades to an orangey yellow. But it maintains the yellow in the lip. So very attractive. Good spike on that one this time. I think this has been grown on from a seedling. Looking at the way the bulbs have progressed, and obviously the previous growth bloomed, and this growth is larger than anything before. That should continue to progress until it gets to its maximum size, and then all the bulbs will be roughly the same size from that point. That's that one. I haven't got much in the world of Tolumnias at the moment. My Europhila, my species, is the main stem there, you can see, is fading. Those blooms will drop soon. But the branch at the back has still got one bud still to open. So it's going to prolong its blooming for some time yet. The other spike, right down there, the branches are in bloom on that. And you can see the main spike, the lowest point on that spike is blooms are going there, but the branches have recently opened, so that will last a while. The only other Tolumnia bloom I've got out at the moment is starting to fade. In fact, I would say that those blooms are going to fall probably today, maybe tomorrow. And that is Jarrack red butterfly. This plant needs to put its energy into those two new growths now, having bloomed. It needs to now go into growing mode and get some more roots going, ready for next time. But yeah, still there, still hanging in there. Down here, the two little mini Phalaenopsis. I've got a name for this one now. No, it's gone. Soto Grottis or Gottis or something like that. Somebody gave me the name for it, which is nice, thank you. But looks good. Very little, if any, fragrance on that one. The other one up here on this sad looking weird plant, because this is growing badly. There's something up with the plant basically. It does have a tendency to produce side growths. Not sure I'm going to call them cakeys anymore, because some Phalaenopsis have that habit. They do clump up, they do form clumps in their natural state. But blooms are fading on that. They're losing their colour, they're spotting, so they're going to fall soon. And then that needs to concentrate on sorting itself out and starting to grow properly. If it will, we shall see. What else we've got up here? This dendrobium that's lasting incredibly well. Still looks like it's going to hang in there for a while yet. Being a white dendrobium, the first signs of fading will probably be some brown tips to the petals and sepals, but this is Dendrobium infundibulum crossed with Dendrobium lowii. Very attractive and very long lasting. Anything with infundibulum in it, including the species itself, is probably going to be long lasting blooms. You know, you're looking at 2 to 3 months, which is, you know, makes them worthwhile. My yellow Miltoniopsis has had it now. I suspect that's had its bloom life shortened by the heat. And I need to get the plant back where it belongs now it's finished blooming, so that spike will come off today as I go round and water, and that can get back in the cooler, shadier place. The humidity's higher down there, it'll be happier. My Shelob Tolkien spike is just starting to go. The colours run on the lip as the blooms fade. So the stripy patterning on the petals and sepals starts to merge together into just a deep maroon red, and then the pinks, creams and browns on the lip all sort of wash and blend in together to a more reddy colour, and then it falls off. So that's just about lasting a couple of days and that'll be gone too. The white Miltoniopsis, Her Alexander, signs of this starting to fade now. Yeah, just little signs that the blooms are going to go soon, but they've lasted quite well, you know, given that I brought the plant up here out of its proper environment where I'd prefer to keep it. They've hung in there quite well. The Miltoniopsis Junette, this one has been damaged by the fan. Every time the fan comes on, it's bashing that edge of that bloom against that leaf, and so it's just slightly damaged. So the blooms aren't actually fading, it's just got a little bit of damage from getting bashed around in the wind basically. But this one was bought as a yellow Miltoniopsis, and last time it bloomed the yellow fades very quickly to a creamy white, but this time round the red is very, very prominent. That colouring wasn't like that last time round. There's far more of the deep purple and red on the blooms this time round. Quite honestly, that's better. Looking like that is better than it did last time. Very attractive blooms. My wedding bell is definitely on its way out, as you can see. Blooms it's funny actually, sometimes on dendrobiums the bloom's gone and yet it won't let go. Yeah, I mean there's still some blooms out obviously on this one, but it's on its way, and that's desperate for a repot. Desperate. I've got a few new growths at the base starting, and this is last year's new growth that's sticking out the top, and as is this one. But yeah, blooms are on their way out, and desperate need of a repot, that one. So we'll get on with that soon. And then I think the only other thing I've got out is this little Cuthbertsonii cross. It's if it's going to come down without knocking everything over. Oh, and I've just noticed a surprise up above it. I don't think this hook is going to let go. That's the trouble with the softer wire. Have I got it? Yes, just about. Right, so this is Cuthbertsonii crossed with Saloense, I think. But nonetheless, the new growths on this are pushing on nicely, and there are some new roots. There's a little bit on the end there that got broken. It got dropped, basically. But I haven't taken it off because at the base of it is another new growth. So I'm just leaving it for now. But the bloom at the top has been open for ages. In fact, it was on it when I bought it, I think. Another really, really long-lasting Dendrobium bloom. But looking at the edges of that top bloom, they're starting to go brown, so that top one's going to go soon. And the one down the bottom has only just opened. So we have a little bit of time left on that one. And this wasn't open yesterday, and this is a surprise, but Mr. Hairy has opened its only bloom, Dendrobium senile. Let me put it down because otherwise it just wobbles. So beautiful waxy bloom on this, very sturdy looking. And when it first opens, the coloration in the lip is a good green. That will fade. And I didn't expect to get any blooms on that this year. So one bud, one bloom is better than no buds, no blooms. So what I'm interested in this one is just growth. I'm just interested in growth and new roots. And it seems to be doing that. Keeping this plant alive long term is renowned to be a bit difficult. They seem to go in spurts where they look really healthy and they grow well, and then they just go down. That's what I've heard from others, but mine seems to be growing okay at the moment. It has got a lot of new growths. I've got a feeling that might have been on its mount a bit too long. That moss looks pretty poor, so I might need to deal with that, but at the moment it's growing well. There's actually some new roots showing at the top, so yeah, I'll put that back in a minute. So that's it this time round, and I'll apologise now, but I'm not going to do pop-ups with names and all that sort of stuff this time round because I have just got a seriously busy day. I had my day at Burnham's on Saturday, so I went round with the sprayer before I left for my mounts, and that was a very long, tiring day, such that yesterday I did absolutely nothing out here. The only thing I did out here was top up the header tank for the fogger. It's a real lazy day yesterday, sort of recovery day. Did a few things around the house, and today I got a lot to do because I really need to get watering out here now. Virtually everything in here needs watering. I won't be able to do it all in one day, so I'll have to be selective. But I've also got lots of things to do, like outside the house. I've got places to go and things to do. So my day of rest was getting ready for today. I think I've just got so much to do today, and I will do as much as I can, and that's all we can ever do. So yeah, see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.